Hello, everyone. It's Sharon Lapu-Lapu again, and I am waiting of Mr. Rikai from Lives Beyond the Sea channel because I will interview him, but he is not yet arrived. I'm just waiting on him to arrive. So I just um start the live while waiting on him. And if you have everyone, if you have something to ask a question on me, you can write your question and I will answer as long as I can able to answer. And then I am waiting. I think he has something problem, so I hope he will come. So hello, from Murph, my two favorite vloggers from Philippines. Thank you. From Juan, hello Sharon, hello, and Happy New Year to all of us again. And here in the Philippines, I'm gonna say to you, Happy Three Kings because we are celebrating here Three Kings. We from Juan. Is the weather bad? Yeah, it's a few bad because it's rain the whole day, the whole night, and it's a few cold. Um, okay, from Robert Rock. Miss Sharon, my question is, okay, sir, what is your question? I am waiting. I wait. Okay, Vector Robert. Rikai is the first Philippine blogger I follow. Okay, yeah, and he has so much subscribers. Happy New Year, Marv, and happy Three Kings. I think your Filipino wife know that we are celebrating Three Kings here after New Year. And if you have some question, like I said, some question, anything question, okay. Okay, Rikai was my first Philippine blogger also. After I meet my wife, I felt it was important to learn as much as I could about the Philippines. Yes, you learn first the culture of the Filipino people and also Philippines before you stay here. Yeah, I am still waiting to Mr. K until now. So I'm gonna if you have question, I'm gonna I'm answer your question. Okay. Christopher suffered. Hello to you, Sharon and Laura from North Carolina. Hello, sir. Thank you. Rikai is back in the Philippines or is still in US? He is still in US because when he told to me about the time difference. Okay. Hi Sharon, it's Rich. How are you? I'm not familiar with Reekay channel. Who is he and what is he about? His channel is wait, I'm gonna check. Beyond Sea. I don't know exactly. Right. Life beyond Rikai, life beyond the sea, and then he traveling different country, different places, especially Philippines. I'm gonna write his channel. Is wait, Rikai's wait, life beyond See. Robert Track. Hi, Sharon. My question is, are you really against foreigner dating young Pinays? There are not many truly available, sweet, and attractive Pinay of your age and caliber. I am not against if foreigner dating a young Filipina, but make it sure that she is not minor. You make it sure that she is not minor, even 23 years old. You can date because it's your decision. It's your all decision if you want to date a young Filipina, but not on a minor age because you will have a problem on that. And 23 here is I know there are some 23 years old are matured, some are not, but um if you get married with a 23 years old, you need a parent's consent. So you need their parents' permission. But like what I said, it's all up to you. It's your decision if you date young Filipina. I don't against on that. I have no problem on that as long as you don't date 17 years old or 16 years old. Okay. My Pinay is 25. I'm 60. Yeah, for me, there is no problem for that as long as you love to each other and he is nice. I mean, she is nice on you. Okay. The legal age date here, I mean, the legal age is actually 18, but not exactly the real. The real age here is 23, but if you, like what I said, if you get married to the 23 years old until 25, I think mostly you need a parent's permission. If the parents didn't give the permission, you cannot get married. But I don't know if maybe if you do something or like that. I don't know what other people or other Filipina doing, even they are young, and then they don't have parent consent to their parents, but they would like to get married. I don't know what the way they are doing. So 25 and 60, it's not a problem as long as she is nice with you, as long as she take good care of you. And then because some Filipina think that age doesn't matter here in the Philippines. So no problem for that. Okay. Hell no, I would not date a minor. She is wholesome, good girl. Okay, you are lucky. And congratulations to you. Okay, it's done. Because if you getting married here in the Philippines, when you go to the local civil register for to apply marriage license, you will have a seminar. I think I am not so sure that you attend two different office with seminar, and then the one is about health. It's about health planning, family planning, and then the other one is about social welfare. That's what I know and based on my experience. But me, I when I get married with my ex-husband, I don't go to seminar. It's because of my uncle. My uncle was a boss before, and then he signed directly to my marriage license. And then after done, it's very quick. I will admit my opinion of age gap relationship or potential age gap relationship has changed a bit over the last couple of months. Yes, it changed, but Filipino woman accept old guy. Okay, Robert Truck. Her parents have met me. I asked them for approval. All good. Okay, lucky for you. Because there are some parents against the merit of their daughter, especially if they don't like that guy, they don't accept, they don't give approval or permission. Okay, and I just want to tell to you that Sir Rikai from Life Beyond the Sea channel is he is giving advice on living and dating and avoiding scam in the Philippines. So he give also an advice to people to not to be in a bad woman. So his channel is very nice. Please watch his channel and subscribe his channel. Okay, very professional interview with David Sharon. Good job. Thank you. I am not so sure if I did my interview with David last time, if it's good, but I it's okay as long as I ask him his opinion and perspective and thoughts. It's important. Hi from Recommend USA Princess. Thank you. I want to date Sharon last. Hmm, Wait, wait. Hello? Okay. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Don't worry. I wait. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Okay, hold on. Mr. Rikai called me just right now, and then he has a problem on his computer, but he is coming. Are there many single Filipino women that 30 and up without children? Yes, there are. There are so much Filipina here, 30 years old up and no children, single. Someone. He's a good advisor on LDR. Yes, he is. So, Arkash, the interview was an excellent interview. He was thoughtful and informative on his personal experience. Yes, exactly. Been married to my Filipina for 27 years and best decision I ever made. I am happy. I am very happy 17-year different in age, which I thought was perhaps too big of age gap at the time. Anyway, we have two kids. Yeah, it doesn't matter about the age gap as long as you can handle well your relationship and you are happy, you are understanding, you understand to each other. So you can have no problem on that. You can happy and you can honest, loyal, and devoted to each other. That's important. Okay, I enjoyed your interview with David. It's so sad to see that he's not feeling so well. Yes. Okay, Sharon, you didn't marry in the church. No, I didn't marry in the church. I married on the in a civil wedding because I use a practical way. Okay, he is here now. Okay.
Hello. Hi. Sorry for being tardy. I got back from town a bit later than I anticipated.
Okay, so I'm gonna start. Okay. Today I have a pleasure to interviewing Sir Rikai, whose channel is Rikai Lives Beyond the Sea. And Sir Rikai is Mr. Knowledge and advice on the Philippines. And as a Filipina, I can tell you his advice is accurate, sound straight to the point, and
Mm,
he is boots on the ground with the real nitty gritty. And sir, I think you had produced 1,300 or more videos and
yeah.
over 18 million views on your channel, I think. So, sir, before I start, I would like to say I would like to greet you Happy New Year and welcome to my channel. And
Thanks for
my
having me.
subscriber and yes, my subscriber and I thank you for granting this interview. I really thank
Yeah.
you for
Mm.
this. Mm.
Glad to be
And
here.
I'm gonna ask you, sir, if you don't mind, how old are you?
59 for another month or so,
Mm.
and then February I'll be turning the big 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So 59.9, I guess.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna start now.
Mhm.
My first is for those viewers who don't know your channel like I do, can you give us a brief synopsis of your channel, the content, and anything else you deem beneficial?
Yeah, when I first decided to do it, because I didn't plan on doing a channel when I moved to Philippines, I had
Mm.
no intention of having a channel. I put up
Okay.
some videos for my kids, and then the public started watching them, and before I knew it, people were asking me questions. So I decided to start a channel in 2013. And before I made that decision, I had to ask myself, well, what kind of channel do I want? Because, some people focus on comedy or whatever, real life. And then I thought, well,
Yes.
the best thing I could probably provide is information on adapting to the Philippines, things that I learned along the
Okay.
way,
Mm.
information on a lot of it on relationships, because having a relationship with a Filipina when you're a foreigner is much
Mhm.
different than, because of the culture and the background, the expectations.
Yes.
So I've been focusing on those two things, trying to help people avoid problems, uh, giving some direction when it comes to adapting to the culture and adapting to
Mhm.
the dating culture
Mm.
specifically. So that's been my main two focus all this time.
Okay. And you give great advice on travel, dating, relationship, and sending money to strangers. Do you think no matter what advice you give, foreigners just continue to make preventable mistake and foolishly lose money?
Well, it's been a little frustrating over the years because anyone, can provide the direction and the advice, but unless the
Mm.
person who needs it applies the good advice, they're still going to have the problem. And there's an old saying, what men need most often is not new information, but rather to be reminded. And and many of the things I share is what people would call common sense. Men already kind of know the things that I say, but they haven't been reminded in a while. And so I think it's just it works out to who apply good principles. Like for instance, later in about 2 hours, I'm going to post a vid or a I'm going to post an article, and I'll put it on my Facebook. Um, and I'm going to post an article that I wrote earlier today. And I took some of the most important advice I have about dating and I put it all into one article, and it
Okay.
answers many questions about money, trust, relationships,
Mm,
recreational dating versus finding a mate. I covered
yes.
all that in the article today, so I'll be
Mm,
posting that in about 2 hours.
okay. Nice. Okay. Have you heard a passport brother or this title meant flocking to the Philippines are now called by Western women? Any comments on this labeling?
Well, the Passport Brothers, I've only seen two of their videos. So I'm really not that familiar. I got the general idea that they're open
Okay.
to relationships because well, in the Western world, there's some different movements going on with men. One of them
Mm-hmm.
is the red pill movement, which is,
Okay.
saying no to feminism and demands and being
Mm,
abused.
yes.
Many men are financially abused. That's the red pill movement. And then you have a black pill movement where men are saying,
Mm-hmm.
no more women, no more. They don't want to date women. They don't want to
Okay.
marry women. They're just very
Mm,
anti women, which I think is overboard.
mm,
That's, as they say, throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Now, Passport Brothers, like I said, I've only seen maybe two of their videos. I did have a discussion with a foreigner just about 2 days ago about Passport Brothers, and he was
okay.
explaining a little more of their position. But really, I know very little about them other than they
Mm,
believe in having a traditional woman in their life that has traditional values,
mm, yes.
and they know that it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to find in United
Mm,
States, Canada, Australia, Europe. You can find a woman like that, but it's a needle in a haystack. Whereas I've said,
okay.
I've said consistently for years, um, stay off the dating sites, go to the Philippines, walk down the street, and your odds of finding a good Filipina woman are like 85 to
Yes.
90%. But if you go on the dating sites, your odds are 95% you're going to find somebody that's really not being honest, you know.
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because everywhere in the Philippines you can see beautiful Filipina.
Yeah,
Mm,
everywhere. Yeah, I tell
okay.
them don't talk with a Filipina for 8 months and then meet her at the airport. You're cutting yourself off from so many wonderful women. Just wait till you get
Mm,
there and meet them the old-fashioned way. You see them at the
yes.
store, at the park, at the bakery. You walk up and you say hi and you start some conversation. And if it goes somewhere and you get her number, then you're on your way, you know.
Yes. Okay. I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
There are so many pros and cons versus renting, buying, building, and owning property in the Philippines. What's your advice on the subject? And do your pros outweigh the cons?
Well, it would be nice if many of these things could be answered yes or no. But actually, it depends on it's like when people ask me, what's the best island in the Philippines? Well, that depends. Do you want big city like Manila or Cebu? Do you want province? Do you want
Yes.
beach? Do you want the mountain? What do you want? And when it comes to property, uh, the answer really depends on the goals that the foreigner has for moving to the
Mm,
Philippines. Because not all
yes.
foreigners are coming to the Philippines or Vietnam or Thailand for the same reason. Um,
Mm,
some men move to the Philippines knowing they never want to get married. They just
mm,
know. They just
yes.
want to be chicks boy the rest of their life and buy an old
Yes.
rooster. And,
Mm,
that's fine. I always tell them that's fine. just be honest with the girls you date. Let them know you're not looking for marriage,
Yes.
and then they
Yes,
know it's just a
exactly.
short term thing. Now, for men that are not interested in marriage, I tell them your best bet, if you're going to buy anything, buy a condo
Mm,
because you own it. You actually own it. You don't own the land under
yes.
it, but that's okay
Mm,
because the condo corporation takes care of that. If you're a single guy, that means that there's going to be no kids in your future. At
okay.
most, you might have a live-in girlfriend. That doesn't take too much space. So a condo,
Mm,
you can always have somewhere to go home to as you travel other islands, even other countries. You can always come back to that condo. It's a good deal. You've got everything you need. It's security, all that. However, buying a house as a single man who never plans on getting married is a very bad idea because now
yes.
you're going to have to lease the land from someone else. And
Mm,
and if you build a house there, well, if when you pass away, whatever you built on that land now belongs to the person you leased the land from.
yes.
So, I mean, I hate to get really into it, but if it's to the advantage of the landowner that the sooner you die, he gets to have your really nice house,
Mm.
you've kind of put yourself in a bad position, you know? So, uh, I would say there's also no reason for a single man to even bother with buying a house because then you're anchored in that one spot. Whereas if you just rent, the rent is very
Mm,
affordable in the Philippines compared to Western
yes.
lifestyle. And this way, if you get tired of living in Dumaguete, well, you just end your lease and you go live in Cebu, or you live in Panglao,
Yeah.
or you live in Iloilo. You could go to Thailand. Now for the guys that are looking for serious relationship, they're looking to get
Mm,
married, maybe have some babies, or they marry a
yes.
single mother who already has babies. Um,
Mm,
then my advice to them has been the only reason I would buy a house is as a gift of security to my wife. I don't need
yes.
to own a house. I'm not going to buy a house for investment purposes. I would only be buying the house because many foreigners date younger women and marry younger Filipinas.
Mm,
So mathematically, we're more likely to pass away first. So by purchasing a home for a Filipina you're married to, not someone you're dating and you've only known for 2 weeks,
mm,
but
yes.
someone you're married to, um, that is what I call a gift of security so that when you're
Mm,
gone, she'll never have to worry about where she lives. She's
yes,
got
exactly.
to stay in, you know?
Mm,
So the answer to your question really depends on what kind of life does this foreigner plan to have. Because if he
mm,
wants to marry a Filipina and have two, three kids, buying a condo is a bad idea. Where are these kids going to
mm.
play?
Yes.
You know? So it really does depend on the situation.
Okay. And you are not really a bar person because you don't drink. So where would you recommend expat who are moving to Dumaguete take a date in the first date?
What I've done, and I cover this in the article I'm going to put out here in about 2 hours, is if you're looking to build a relationship, keep it simple.
Mm,
Like a good first date, second date, third date is some lunch. Not dinner, lunch, because lunch is in the middle of
okay.
the day.
Mm,
No expectations.
yes. And you have
You,
conversation long.
yeah, because when you have a dinner date, you finish dinner, it's 9 p.m., and it's like,
Mm,
okay, time to go to bed, pressure, expectations. But
mm,
if you're having lunch, it's like you finish eating, you walk down the boardwalk.
mm,
That's another thing I'm big on is just taking walks
mm,
together. Or after dinner, go to another location, get some ice
mm,
cream, get some iced tea, have conversation,
Mm.
because the big mistake that a lot of foreigners make is they talk to a Filipina online and they say, okay, let's meet for
Yes.
dinner. And then they spend the night. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to take you to this resort.
Mm.
And then they go and spend 3, 4 days at an expensive resort. And then it's like, okay, now we're
Mm.
going to go
Yes.
island hopping. Now we're going to go jet ski. Now we're going to do this. And oh, I'll buy you an iPhone and this and that and this. And what happens is all the attention
Mm.
is on the activities. The attention's supposed to be between the two people.
Mm.
If there's a lot of activities, they're looking outward. But if you keep the activities low, you're talking to each other. So that's why I
Yes.
recommend keep the dates simple. Focus on conversation. Find out, how did you grow up? How big a family do you have? What are your plans for the future? I mean,
Yes.
learn about each other. You know?
Mm. Yes, because learn to each other is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. The age gap common in relationship with Filipina and foreigner sometimes can be extreme. Can you give five cons of having significant age gap and your opinion and range you think is workable in relationship?
Well, I would say, as far as cons go in an age gap relationship, one we already looked at, which is, the older gentleman is going to pass away first. So
Mm,
if it's a short-term
okay.
relationship just for fun, then it really doesn't matter, you know. But if it's going to be a committed
Mm,
relationship, it's a factor. So establishing some financial security
yes.
for her is very important. So that's one con to be aware of.
Mm,
Another con is I've always recommended from day one, if you're going to have, and I'm speaking to older foreigners, if you want to have a younger
mm,
Filipina for a long term relationship marriage, your odds of succeeding in your marriage are greater if you stay in the Philippines to live.
mm,
Because when you move her
okay.
to your home country, the dynamics change. Number one,
Mm,
most Western
yes.
societies do not like age gap relationships. They will talk
Mm,
about you behind your back. They will mock you.
yes.
They will try to convince her to leave you. And these are people you
Mm,
don't even know, people you just run into at the gas station or the grocery store. So you're going to
mm,
have that pressure against a bigotry against your
mm,
relationship in your own home country. And then
yes.
another con of taking her to your home country is she, as a younger Filipina, she may love you. She may love
Mm,
you dearly when you meet. You take her to another country, and all of a sudden, she is a superstar. Every young man
okay.
around wants her.
Mm,
And it's a lot of temptation. And unless that woman truly has a heart of love for her husband, she's going to be tempted by a lot of younger guys who are going to say,
yes.
"I've got money. I'm younger. I'm wapo. You don't need to be with that old." And a lot of women can't handle that temptation. So that's
Yes.
a bad thing to consider. Now, my advice, and I've done a video about this, my advice to older men who want to be with a younger woman, uh, is if you're going to do that, there's two things you have to keep in mind. Number one, if she's 24 years old, you cannot expect her to have the maturity and experience of a 45-year-old woman. There are many places she
Mm,
hasn't been, many things she hasn't done. She may not have handled money before, or debt, or
yes. Mm,
have sticking to a budget, or there's a lot she doesn't know. She may not know how to drive. She may never have had an ATM card. There's many things that she doesn't know because she's still young, and you've already been doing this for 3, 4 decades. So you
Yes.
have to be patient. And that's the second thing. Because she's younger, you have to expect to be patient, to she's going to, like, for instance, maybe react to some situations emotionally. It takes a
Mm.
while in life to learn how to respond to situations in life rather than react
Yes.
to them emotionally,
Mm.
you know?
Yes.
I've always said this, like with my fiance, there's a 35-year gap between the two of us.
Mm.
And one of the first things that I wanted to communicate for her to learn was that in life, when things happen, there's an initial shock, like a problem.
Mm.
It could be a money
Yes.
problem, anything.
Mm.
You let that shock pass away before you make any decisions. And then don't focus on how sad it makes you, how scared it makes you, how angry it makes you.
Yes.
Don't focus on that. What's the one
Mm.
thing you focus on is the solution. What do
Mm.
we need to
Yes.
do to solve this problem?
Mm.
And see, that's something you only learn after years of living life.
Mm.
So it's things like this that if a man, and because this is what I've seen with too many foreigners, they come to the Philippines, they realize they can date younger women, and then they get a younger girlfriend, and then they don't want the responsibility of teaching her about life.
Mm.
And then
Yes.
they get a distance between them because now he just gets frustrated and doesn't want to deal with her when she gets emotional,
Mm.
when she wants to go out and do things, and he just wants to sit at the bar for 3 hours and she's sitting there
Yes.
bored. He needs to remember,
Mhm.
why would she want to sit in a bar listening to him talk to foreigners for 4 hours? Who wants to do that? That would make
Mm.
anybody bored. So
Yes.
he needs to think, and again, it makes me sad when I see this, that if you love someone, you're thinking about what's best for them, not what's best for you. That's called selfishness.
Mm.
If you're going to
Exactly.
be with a younger woman, you really have to go the extra mile to accommodate her
Mm.
and help her get up to speed. And I tell men, if you're not willing to do that, date a woman over 35 because they've figured all this stuff out, usually, you know. So that's my advice with the age gap thing, the
Yes.
pros and cons. Now, as far as the pros, I'll just say this. Uh, with my
Mm.
fiance V, um, one of the big pros, benefits, is she makes every day joyful and fresh. Because
Mm.
me, I've lived so much life already. It's easy for me to get lost in the past, mistakes that I've made in the past, things that I regret.
Mm.
It's easy for me to kind of see life in a darker view. But when I'm with her,
Mm.
every day is a new day. We always say every morning when
Yes.
we're together, we wake each
Mm.
other up in the morning and we say, it's a beautiful day. That's how we start our day.
Mm.
We say, it's a beautiful day because it is, and it can be. And she reminds me just how joyful and adventurous life can be. So that's really
Mm.
one of the big benefits of being with a younger woman.
Okay, and I'm sure that when you wake up every morning, you see each other, good morning, and I love you to each other. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Every day. I would say
Okay.
we tell each other, I love you probably 8, 9 times a day. It's the last thing we say before we go to bed, you
Mm.
know? Yeah.
Yes. Do you agree that a foreigner should let his LDR pick up him at the airport or not? Please explain your answer.
Well, there's 2 types of LDRs. There's the LDR where you've met in person already,
Mm.
you've built a relationship 3 months or more at least, and then for whatever reason you have to do
Mm.
an LDR. Okay, that's one type of LDR. You've already built a foundation for the relationship. That's the situation my fiance and I are in right now. We lived together for, I believe it was 14, 15 months, all
Mm,
during the whole pandemic. And we were literally together 24 hours a day for 14 months, which
okay.
was great. We found out we get along real great. And then my
Mm,
mother had some medical issues, so I came to United States, and I hope to be back by February.
mm,
And but we've spent now more than a year and a half apart in LDR. But see, we already had 14 months living together. We trust each other. We have confidence in each other. We're committed to each other. That's one type of LDR. If she wants to meet me at the airport, that's
mm.
great. The sooner I get to see her, that's great. Now, the other kind of
Yes.
LDR, the other kind of LDR is where the foreigner goes to the Philippines, first, second time. He's only there for 3 weeks. He doesn't meet a Filipina till he's been there a week. And then he's only known her less
Yes.
than 2 weeks. To me, yeah, keep in touch, but don't commit to a relationship when you really don't know this person. And trying to talk to them on video chat, you can communicate. And I have so many foreigners that say, well, I only knew her for a week, but we now for a year, we've been video chatting for 4 hours a day. And I know she loves me and I know all about her.
Yes.
And I tell them two things. I said, number one, you only know what she tells you. That's number one. I said, number
Mm,
two, I said, if you can answer me this question, I'll believe you have a relationship. And they go, okay, what's the question?
okay.
I go, after you and her Skype or video chat for 4 hours, what does she cook for her husband after she logs off? And they go, well, but she's not married. How do you know that?
Mm,
How do you know when she
yes,
logs off,
exactly.
she doesn't cook dinner for her family? The kids that she says she doesn't
Mm,
have, the husband she says she doesn't
mhm,
have. And just this year, I've had 5 guys, because guys contact me all the time asking me for help and
mhm,
advice. I've had 5 guys this year alone. They waited through the pandemic. They got to the Philippines. The most recent one, he had seen her before, but hadn't seen her for 2 years. He gets back, she's pregnant
mm.
from some local
Oh my
Filipino.
God.
Yeah, yeah, and he hadn't seen her in two
Yes,
years,
it
obviously.
happened mostly.
And he was
Mm,
so disappointed. And so that's why I say there's two types of LDR. You either already have the relationship in person and then you do the LDR, or there's even guys that have never met the Filipina in person. They met them on the dating site, they've chatted them for 2 years on video, and then they get there and all of a sudden, they've been
yes.
sending them money all this time. And now they say, oh, will you meet me at the airport? Let's start our life together. They block him. They block him on
Mm,
everything. Why? Because she's got a husband. She's got a boyfriend. She just wanted the money. She
yes.
never planned on meeting him. So that's why I say always be careful. Don't mistake video chat for a real relationship.
There was a foreigner who died in San Carlos of heart condition. However, all expat concluded that because the local hospital was not fully equipped for heart attack or other cardiology treatment, he died needlessly. What advice you could give expat moving to province, village, and isolated areas?
Well, so it, this is where a foreigner needs to be honest with himself. Is um, I would say more than 50%. More than 50% of foreigners are number one overweight. Many, not all, but many drink on almost a daily basis alcohol.
Yes.
Many, not all, smoke cigarettes. So when you
Yes.
combine obesity, alcohol, and cigarettes, in my opinion, if that man wants to be smart with where he lives, he should live near a good hospital because the older he gets, his chances of having problems with his liver, his lungs, cancer, heart attack are very high. If he's smart, he will live near a place that has at least, like you said, the capacity to take care of heart trauma, emergency trauma, that sort of thing. Because if he decides to live in Sugar Beach, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's 6 hours away
Yes.
from even the nearest mediocre hospital. Uh, Sikihor doesn't even have a hospital, so you better be well
Mm,
enough to catch the last ferry, which I think is around 7 p.m. Otherwise, you wait till the next morning. You better be well enough to
mm,
get on the ferry, ride it. Dun, 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 dun. Half hour later, you get to Dumaguete, and then they
mm,
rush you off to Silliman Hospital. So I think it's our responsibility as foreigners to be honest with ourselves. If we're not eating right, getting enough
mm,
exercise, taking our vitamins, trying to stay in good health, if we're not doing those things, the smart thing is to live near a good hospital because you're going to need it eventually.
okay. Yeah, especially the traffic in the Philippines.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Okay, can you tell us about your healthy habits group on Facebook? What is the intent and goal of the group?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. I started the Healthy Habits Facebook group, and I can put the link in the comments later. I started
Mm,
that because I myself, when I came to United States for my mother's health, I realized as I went to the doctor and I got some blood work done, and all this,
mm,
I realized that I had very bad diabetes.
mm,
Like a daily glucose level for a normal person is about
okay.
80, 90 value.
Mm.
Mine was 425. That's how
Oh,
bad it was. Yeah, I mean,
yes, so much.
my doctor said, I can't believe you're not in a coma. He was being serious. So I had to educate myself last year on proper diet, what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, intermittent fasting, limiting portions. I made it my mission to start learning from a variety of doctors, not just one or two. I mean, there's like Dr. Gundry, Dr. Berg. There's quite a few.
Yes.
And so as I started gathering all this information, I thought, I'm going to share all these good videos I found on YouTube and articles. I created the group so that other foreigners can just go there and you can scroll and scroll. You can find out if potatoes are good for you or bad for you. Find out should you be drinking soda? What are the harms of having candy? What are some of the best vegetables to eat? Should you be eating fruit? How important is it to be in the sun every day? Get that
Yeah.
exposure to the sun. So much good information. I highly encourage anyone that wants to feel better or lose weight, go to the Healthy Habits page, and there's so much good information there.
Okay, because health is wealth.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Okay. Okay, how does an expat determine and decide when to build his relationship, wife or her family a house? What criteria or areas of consideration you deem mandatory before deciding such as endeavor?
Yeah, I've done several videos. I've always said, um, if you're serious in your relationship about the Filipina you're with, because again, some people just date just for fun. just for
Okay.
company, past the weekend. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a serious relationship. I have
Yes.
always said, if you truly love a woman, what's important to her becomes important to you. And one of the most important things in her life is her parents. And
Yes.
even for those who have no, let's just say, spiritual background, just basic common decency says you should honor your parents. And that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to look out for the welfare of her parents. And
Okay.
had she never met you, she would have worked, and maybe some of her brothers would have worked, or sisters. You know, enough of them would have worked to provide to their parents to make sure they have food, and if there's an emergency, help them with that. If the house needs fixing, help them fix that up.
Yes.
If they don't have money, maybe they know how to do the tile work or the electrical work or the welding. There's ways that they can help their parents. So I have always said from the beginning, if you love a Filipina, one of your big concerns should be that her parents are at least doing okay. And too many times, if there's one foreigner in the whole family, say there's six Filipino kids, everybody expects the
Yeah.
foreigner to do everything, financially. I don't believe that's correct. But I do believe that the contribution your wife, your fiance would have made to your parents, you do that together. So like my fiance and I, she doesn't work, but the money we give to her parents every month, I told her, this is from the both of us. It may be my money, but the gift is from the two of us because
Yes.
it's our contribution to their expenses. Now, again, it would be nice in life if there was one simple answer, nice and short, that applied to everybody, but that's not how life works. As far as how much and buying a house and all that, um, there's another principle. There's a couple of principles that are involved here. One principle is you start with you and your spouse. You have to provide for
Mm-mm.
yourselves. You and your wife, you need to have enough money for your budget, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
then the next ring outside that is including the parents. Is okay, how much, because not every foreigner makes the same amount of money. Um,
Yes.
what is in the budget that can be consistently given to the parents? Is it
Mm-hmm.
$100 a month? Is it 10,000 pesos a month, 15,000 pesos? They need to figure out together what can we give them that they can count on every month. Not
Yes.
$100 this month, 300 the next, $50. It has to be consistent so they know what to count on. And their responsibility is to budget what's given to them. Now, another principle I've
Yes.
talked about when it comes to this subject is, again, I firmly believe in a Filipina or anyone's uh, responsibility to honor their parents and make sure they're okay. But that's it. The parents, not the brother, not
Yes.
the sister, not the cousin, not
Not
the
the sister.
neighbors. They're grown up people. They need to go and get a job. That's their
Mm-hmm.
responsibility in life. And too many times, foreigners, they don't want to say no. And they're afraid, oh, the family won't like me. Well, they need to learn how to find a nice way to say no. Because just because the brother wants a new motorcycle, that doesn't mean I'm going to buy him one. You know, if he wants a new
Yes.
motorcycle or he wants a new phone or he wants anything, he needs to do what I did: go work a job, save up the money, and then go buy the motorcycle or get it on payment.
Yes.
You know, the responsibility is with the parents because they are elderly, they can't work, they have taken, there's another thing I keep in mind. For instance, my fiance, I am thankful to her parents that they took care of her till the day I met her, and they continue to, care for her. It's a thankfulness I have to them that I would support them because uh, really, had it not been for them, I would never have met her. You know, so I think you had a signal break on your end. Hopefully, we're still live. But so those are some of the things that I
Hello,
consider
hello,
very
hello.
important. Oh, there you go. I think you're live again. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. Signal kind of
Yes,
went out there.
okay. Mm.
So those are some important things to remember. Number one, what's important to her should be important to you. Number two, the responsibility is to the parents only, not the whole family. You know. Um, and number three, as far as building a new house or buying a new house, again,
Okay.
that has to be within the foreigner's budget. He should not be going into debt or endangering his own home budget to
Mm.
buy a new house. It's not like like marry the Filipina and now they get a new house out of the deal. That's not how it works.
Ah,
If you
yes.
can
It
if you
doesn't.
can afford it, like in my case with my fiance, they had her parents had the type of house that is I'm sure you've seen. It's brick like 1 meter, and then the rest of the house is bamboo, and then it has a tin roof over the top. You
Ah,
know,
yes, yes. Mm.
so what I did was they were having problems with a drunken neighbor.
Mm.
So I sent them money. I said, if you'll do the work, I'll pay for the bricks, the cement, the rebar. Well, they call it the stainless.
Mm.
I said, build a brick wall between you and this problem neighbor. And then
Mm.
after they built the brick wall, I said, you know what? Just go ahead and keep building a wall around the whole
Well,
property, you know?
yes.
And
Mm.
then they needed a gate. And I said, well, tell you what, I will pay for all the metal. Your son knows how to weld. Have him, that'll be his contribution. He can weld the gate together. And he did a very good
Mm.
job.
Mm.
And that's how we've been doing it. We eventually, the house, because it was only 1 meter brick, we took one side of the house, tore down one side of the house, and
Mm,
then built
yes.
it up brick, and then the
Mm.
next side of the house. And we rebuilt the entire outside of the house.
Mm.
And then indoors was, the bamboo dividers for the rooms.
Ah, yes, yes.
Same
Mm.
thing. We tore those down, dug a trench in the foundation, and now each room is brick. And then once it was
Mm.
brick, we plastered it. Then we painted it. Then we put in a ceiling. Then we put in new tile for the whole house. Then
Mm.
we tiled the entire kitchen. You know, it was a step by step process that took a year and a half,
Ah,
you know,
yes.
and the entire time I said, I will pay for the materials if you do the work. I'm not going to
Mm.
pay a bunch of guys to come in and do the work. So between the father and the son, and even the uncle, now a year and a half later, they have basically a new house, but it was built. I didn't just go to some condo association and buy them a
Mm.
house, you know.
Okay.
So everybody needs to do it according to their budget.
Mm. Yes. And have you dated many Filipinas since 2012? You are a logical, pragmatic, and knowledgeable man. What qualities or factors led you to your decision to marry?
What it was two things. One, I was ready in myself to make a commitment, because if a man in himself is not ready to commit, he should not get married. If he
Mm.
still needs what I call variety, stay single. Don't get married, you know.
Mm. Yes.
Uh, like Solomon, I believe it was, who said, there is no greater sadness upon the earth, nothing
Mm.
heavier than a wife unloved. That means a lot to me.
Mm.
I do not like to see men lead women on as if he's going to marry them, and then he knows the whole time he's cheating on her.
Yes.
If he wants to be chick's boy, fine. But tell every girl you're with, I'm not looking for marriage. I
Mm.
just I just want to be around you for the next weekend. That's it. And then she knows, okay, he's Mr. Right now, he's not Mr. Right, you know. And
Yes.
so that's the first thing is I proposed to my girlfriend after I knew her for a year because I knew in myself I was done. I was done with all the variety. I've had it. I got tired of it. I don't need it anymore. I'm ready to commit. So that's the first thing. The second thing has to do with the Filipina. My constant thing I keep telling foreigners is yeah, it's great if a Filipina is beautiful. I mean, that's nice. But what you really need to focus on is her character. You need someone you can trust, somebody you can work problems through with.
Mm.
Because if she's beautiful and you can't trust her, it's just a problem ready to happen. One
Yes,
day she's going to
starting.
cheat on you. One day
Mm.
she's going to take your money, or she's going to have a baby from nowhere. I mean, I can't stress it enough. Character is everything. And if she's pretty, great. Get a woman that's beautiful but with character, and over the 12 years, I was lucky to meet a few who had both. Very attractive
Mm.
and very good character. But I wanted a woman that did not want kids in the future. So, I had to pass. I'm not
Mhm.
going to expect her to not have kids when I know she wants them. So I moved on. I didn't waste her time. Um, so I was lucky when I met, again, my fiance now, V,
Mm.
that yes, I find her so beautiful. But more
Mm.
important than that, she has a good heart. She's trustworthy. And she has consistently shown that for 3 years that I've known her, you know?
Mm.
So that's how I knew I was ready to get married, is that I was ready in myself. I didn't need the variety no more.
Mm.
And I found somebody that was trustworthy, good character.
Yes, character is important also, sir, because physical, when you get older, it will be gone, but character, it will be part of the life of your
Mhm.
personality. So,
Let
can
me.
you talk of, okay,
I was going to say, if you
sir?
want to go full screen for just a moment, I'm going to grab some water. My voice is going
Okay,
out.
okay, okay,
I'll be back
okay,
in just a moment.
okay, sir, okay. Being the ordinary Filipino. Hello. It wouldn't necessarily to be
Okay, I'm back. I had to get some water.
okay. Okay, sir. And can you talk about your biggest mistake or mistake you made in the Philippines?
Yeah, it's actually, well, being the biggest mistake, it's
Mhm.
the most painful. Um, the biggest mistake I made was, as I mentioned, I would date women, find out it's not going to work out because they have
Mm.
kids, or I had some that lied to me, some that cheated on me.
Yes.
So it's a process trying to find the right person. I would say the biggest mistake I made was I met someone years ago. This is like
Okay.
6 years ago, who really I sh- I broke up the relationship after a year because one of the things that was important to me was that they didn't want to have children in the future. And and she told me at the time that she did not want children,
Mm.
anymore. The problem is I began to question it. I began to wonder, well, maybe she doesn't want kids now, maybe she's going to want kids later, you know?
Yes.
And then I wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted to see Vietnam. She did not want to travel. And she
Ah,
said, "Well, you go to Vietnam and I'll wait for you here." But see, I wanted to explore Vietnam together,
mm,
not by myself.
yes.
I don't want to be in another country without so
Mm,
with those two things, I started thinking, well, maybe this isn't going to work out, this that. And
mm,
the mistake I made was I broke up the relationship, I ended it. And it was very
okay.
painful. It was very painful
Yes.
because nobody had cheated on each other, nobody had, done anything wrong,
Mm,
but I was afraid that she was going to change her mind about the babies, she didn't want to travel.
mm,
So it was very difficult and we finally did go our own ways, and she met somebody through my channel, and
um,
she, like, about a year and a half later, she got married. Now here's how I knew I'd made a mistake. She married a man who, like myself, had a vasectomy. She married a man who could not give her babies.
babies. Okay.
And that was when I knew I made a mistake. She really, when she said she was okay to live a life without babies, she meant it. And I should have believed her. I should have believed her. Some will say you never know, it's always a risk. Yeah, that's true. But I would say of all things, that was the biggest mistake I made.
Mhm.
But um, at the same time, I'm at peace with it because you can't foretell the future. You can't beat yourself up over a mistake year after year after year.
Yes.
People move on. You have to move on in your life and learn from it. So when I met my fiance now, V, 3 years ago, that was one of the first conversations we have. Is I made it very clear to her, if you're going
Mm,
to be with me, there's no babies in the future, none.
mhm,
And if you even think you're going to want a baby, you should get serious with someone else, because
mm,
me, don't think you're going to change my mind. I
yeah.
medically I can't make a baby. I don't want to adopt a baby. Maybe I'll have a baby visiting for an hour, but after that I want that
Mm,
baby to go home,
mm.
you know? No
Yes.
babies. And she, she thought about it a while, and what really helped convince me is that she finally told me, because at first she said, "Well, let me think about it," you know.
Yeah.
So then we talked more, and we've talked about it many times over the first 2 years. Now it's a
Mm,
settled issue. But she came to me after thinking about it a while, and she said, she goes, "Babies are a big responsibility." She had seen all the hardship her sister had
mm,
by having a baby. And she said, "Well, here's how I look at it." She said, "Some Filipinas will marry a foreigner and he has a handicap. Maybe
mm.
he has no hand. Maybe he
Yes.
has bad health. Maybe he can't walk." She goes, "I look at it like, this is your handicap. You can't make a baby, you know? And she said, "I'm willing to love you even with that handicap, even though you can't give me a baby, I would rather be with you the rest of my life with no baby than not be with you.
Mm.
And that's when I began to hear that she means this. She has
Mm.
thought it through. She knows what she's doing. And here it is 3 years later. She has never wavered, never changed her mind about babies. So
Mm.
I again, I was looking for what we foreigners call a unicorn.
Mm.
A young woman has no babies, doesn't want babies, and is willing to travel anywhere you go. That is
Yes.
very hard to find. And it took me 10 years to find it. Well, 7 years really. So, that's probably the biggest lesson I had to learn. Some, I've come to the conclusion there's no love without risk. There's always going to
Mm.
be risk. The future is uncertain. There's always going to be, you can't wait until you get a guarantee, but then again, you can't be reckless either. You have to
Mm.
find a balance.
Yes, sir. And like what they said, if you don't fail, you don't learn because failed is a lesson that we
Mm,
must learn. Mm.
yeah.
Have you ever been scammed or deceived by a significant amount of money by a Filipina? Please provide details if the answer is yes.
Well, I'm lucky. I got
Mm.
scammed my first 6 weeks in the Philippines.
Mm.
And I say I'm lucky because I learned my lesson very quickly, and it only
Mm.
cost me $50, which is 2,500 pesos roughly.
Mm. Okay.
What happened, the details, I had only been in the Philippines, not even 5 or 6 weeks.
Mm.
And I had become friends because I lived right near I lived in Basak, and I lived right near Grand Mall. And
Ah,
so I would go there. Of course, Basak.
yes,
So,
I live in Basak and I live back
oh,
on the Grand Mall.
yeah. Okay. Well, I lived
Ah,
over across the street from the petrol station, the gas station.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I would just walk there and get my groceries all the time. And I got to know all the Filipinas that worked there
Mm.
in the food court on the second floor.
Yes. Mm.
So, because I would stop and say hi to them all the time when I would get
Mm.
my groceries.
Yes.
So one day I go in, and one of them, she must have seen me come in the door, you know,
Mm.
and because by the time I got to her kiosk where they sold like juice,
Ah,
she was
yes. Okay.
she was like underneath the counter crying, or at least
Mm.
pretending to cry.
Mm.
I found out she was faking it later. Um, and like an idiot, like a man, wanting to solve problems, I asked her, "What's the problem?" You know, and she says, "Oh, my nephew, he's in the hospital and he's being released tomorrow, and he has no money for the medication, and he had surgery, and it's going to be so painful, and nobody has the money for the pain medication."
Okay.
Now I thought, because I'd heard there was scammers, I thought,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, I'll be smart. I'm not going to just believe her." I thought, so I told her, I said, "Where's the hospital that your nephew's in?" And she said, "Well, doctor's hospital," which is like 2 blocks away, you
Yes,
know?
Mactan doctors.
Yeah. So I said, "Okay, when you get off work at 9 p.m., I'll meet you here. I want to see this nephew that's in the hospital."
Mm.
And I thought I was being smart. So we
Mm.
went to the hospital, and sure enough, there's this nephew. He even showed me his appendix scar
Ah,
from the
okay.
surgery. His mother and father were there, but they spoke no English.
Mm.
So she is handling all the translation. And I'm asking questions, but she's just telling me whatever she wants to say.
Mm.
Well, it turns
Okay.
out we leave the hospital, I go to the ATM, and I give her the 2,500 pesos for pain
Mm.
medication. Well, then I told the Filipina I was dating at the time what had happened, and she's like, "Pain medication is like six, 800 pesos and you gave her
Mm.
2,500, that's when I knew she'd lied to me.
Mm.
So I learned my lesson quickly the first 6 weeks that I was there, and it only cost me 2,500 pesos. Now I know guys, and I have talked to them for year after year after year, um, who have bought houses for Filipinas. And
Mm.
then once the house is built, she says, I break up with you. Me and my boyfriend, we're gonna live here now. Thank you for the house.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
the one that has spent the most, the one that has been scammed money, the most money is an Australian guy. Again, I won't give their names. An Australian guy that I knew in Dumaguete. He spent most of his time back and forth between Australia and Dumaguete. He had been in a 5 year relationship with a
Mm.
Filipina. The Filipina, he had been first, she said she was living with a Korean man who was not her husband, but they have a baby together. She
Mm.
said, oh, he's abusive and so mean to me. I would leave him, but I have no money.
Oh,
So
okay.
he said, oh, well, let me give you some money. Now he was very wealthy. So he said, oh, let me give you, $1,000 to move away from this abusive man. He
Mm.
said, I'll get you an apartment, and every time I come from Australia, I'll spend time with you. And she's like, okay. So he
Okay.
sends her the money. Well, believe it or not, for 5 years, she came up with excuses why she couldn't leave the Korean man. And she would say, well, my baby just started school. I don't want to take him out of school. I'll wait till the summer. And then it was like, oh, I still haven't found a property yet. And now, meanwhile, every month he's sending her anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 US dollars. So
$5.
we're talking 50,000, 60,000
Mm.
pesos.
Yes.
For 5 years, he did this. And when he added it all up, he had given her in 5 years $225,000. That's almost a
Oh,
quarter of $1 million.
oh my God.
And she was still living with the Korean. And when I had lunch with him the last time I saw him, he had 4 days left before he had to go back to Australia.
Mm.
Now, I thought he told me all this to say, I'm done with her. She scammed me. I don't want to
Mm.
see her. No.
Yes.
I said, what are you going to do in the next 4 days before you go back to Australia? He said, I'm going to message her. Maybe if she can meet me, I will wait for her and then I can maybe take her to dinner or something.
Oh my.
And I was like, you deserve this problem.
Mm.
If you haven't learned by now, I don't know what's going to convince you other than a lightning bolt from Jesus. I don't know what's going to
Yes.
get you to see the truth here. So he's the man that so far since 2012 has been scammed the most that I have ever met.
So it seems like he pretending like he is blind and deaf. He didn't see what the girl did to him, and listen, it seems like he is a deaf and blind. Okay.
Yeah, and it's all because of fear. I've talked to enough of these men to know their
Mm.
big fear. If they break up with this Filipina, they're afraid, well, I don't know how to find another one. I'm like, there's what, 110 million people in the Philippines, half of those are women. There's
Yes.
easily 20, 30 million Filipinas in the age group you're looking for. How could you not
Mm.
know there's more Filipinas? If you lose
Yes.
this one, it's okay. There's a whole bunch more.
Mm.
You know?
Yes. Okay. I'm posting a video of about best places, best retirement with fully equipped medical facilities. Can you name 5 areas? Mine were Cebu, Angeles, Iloilo, Olongapo, and Tagaytay. Can you have your idea what place?
You mean as far as because I couldn't hear you there for a second. So
Okay.
you're saying, oh, go ahead and just repeat it. Yeah, that way I could hear it.
Okay. I'm posting, I mean, I will making a video speaking about five best retirement places with
Oh, okay.
fully equipped hospital facilities. Can you name five areas? Because mine, I speak Cebu, Angeles City, Iloilo, Olongapo, and Tagaytay.
Hmm. Well, those are good places. And again, it depends on an expat's budget. For instance,
Yes.
Makati, very many good things about Makati.
Mm,
However, it is a bit more higher in cost of living in the Philippines
yes.
than most places. In fact, it's going to be about equal to living in a Western culture.
Mm,
You know, if you want a nice apartment and a car and all the usual things. Um, Now, Manila, me personally, I've never considered Manila as a long-term place that I would want to live.
mm,
And the reason is because largely the air quality. The good thing is Manila has the best hospitals in the Philippines, but the bad thing is eventually you're going to need them because of the bad air quality, you know, with all the
yes.
smog and
Mm,
exhaust and all that. Um, Now, Cebu is like mini Manila. It's still a big city, but it's not as bad. And I like
mm,
Cebu. And there's two Changhua hospitals, which are very good facilities.
yes.
I even went to the, not that I have cancer, but a friend of mine had cancer over at St. Vincent's Hospital there by Fuente Circle. They have a
Mm,
very good program there. Uh, so to me, Cebu. Oh, and then on Mactan, you know that over there, I think
mm.
by Island City Mall, they have the diagnostic building that they built
Yes.
about
Mm,
6 years ago. Yeah, they
mm,
built it right after I left, and so I would consider Cebu a very good spot for medical care,
mm,
better air quality than Manila. Not great, because if you want really good air quality, then I would say go to like the outskirts of Dumaguete or
yes.
Iloilo, which leads me to Iloilo. Iloilo, again, good hospitals, good infrastructure. You got the malls and everything. But what I like about Iloilo is you can go just right outside the city and enjoy the province life. Again, clean air, grow your own food, all of
Yes.
that. So that's how I kind of rate them. I would probably say Iloilo, Cebu are top of my list.
Mm,
Now, Panglao Bohol is very attractive. Uh,
mm,
I've been to the Bohol Hospital. It's okay, but the good thing is if you're well enough to get on the ferry, you could be at the Cebu hospitals in 90 minutes. You know, more or
yes.
less. You know, so and then my fourth pick would be Davao. I've
Mm,
been to Davao Doctors Hospital. I had really bad ear occlusions.
hearing. Mm,
So I went to an ENT there, got very good treatment. It was like 1,000 pesos. Um, so Davao City has there in Central Davao good hospital, good infrastructure, plenty of things to do. You know, beaches and hiking and all that. So I would say, with the exception of Manila, Cebu, Iloilo, and Davao are the top of my list, and maybe
okay.
Bohol Panglao.
Okay. Have you built a house and or own property in the Philippines? I know you live in a house in the Philippines, but not sure if you are the owner.
Hmm. Well, technically, I had a house for about 10 months.
Mm,
Um, the first Filipina that was the whole reason I moved to the Philippines was very, very, very wealthy. Like, not a little wealthy, very wealthy. She gave me a Mercedes.
okay.
uh, yeah, she has like a lot of money. So we ended on good terms. And after we broke up, she was kind of concerned because, you know, it was still my first year in the Philippines. We'd already been together for 2.5 years before I went to the Philippines.
Okay.
But but I moved there to be with her. Circumstances changed, and we decided to break up. Um, and so she felt bad that like if I was going to be okay. So she bought me a house over on Bohol. Um, she said, "Well, this is your house. Live there rest of your life. At least this way, I know you've got somewhere to stay." You know,
Okay.
and that was a fine arrangement because I wasn't dating anybody. I was just taking some time out to be by myself. That's when I started the
Mm,
channel, and I was living in the middle kind of this barangay. I was the only
mm,
foreigner there. I was outside Tagbilaran. I was just needed time to be by myself. But things changed when I met someone. So now it
okay.
was like, okay, it's your house, but I don't want another Filipina there.
Mm.
So I just finally said, your brother, her brother lived right across the street. I was
Mm,
just like, your brother has a family. Just let him have the house. I'll find somewhere to live. And ever since
mm,
then, I've been like those hermit crabs that go place to place. I live here
mm,
for 4 months, then I live there for 6 months, and then I live. I've been on many islands, and
mm,
that's the way I like to live. Now, getting back to what I said earlier, so far I've never purchased property in the Philippines.
mm,
Um, but as I told my fiance, probably 2, 3 years after we're married, uh, meanwhile, we'll travel together, rent places, and then in after 2, 3 years of marriage, we'll look at all the places we visited and
mm.
pick one we like the most, and that's where we'll buy
Yes.
property. So I'm doing with the islands same thing I did in dating.
Mm.
See what's available, pick the best one, and commit to that. Same
Yes.
process. Same process.
Yes. Okay. Have you encountered any bad dating situation or incident that could have been avoidable? Please explain.
Yeah. Um, I partly blame myself.
Mm,
Um, I'd been in the Philippines about a year and a half.
okay.
I knew that Colon District at night after 11 p.m. is not a safe place to be by yourself.
Yeah,
I knew that.
exactly.
I knew that, but what happened was I had just come from Bohol off the ferry at Pier 1, and my hotel that I had reserved, I believe it was the Mercedes there over by the McDonald's.
Um,
Um, and and normally I would take a taxi. Well, I got off the ferry at about, it must have been 11 p.m. and I didn't see any taxis around, and I knew my way around Cebu. And even though it was late at night, I had a backpack with me with my clothes, and I thought to myself, well, I'll just walk. And I know it's a bad part of town, but
yes.
I thought it's only 5 blocks. I'll be fine. I'll just walk and keep
Mm,
walking. So I got into that area, and as you know, at night they shutter down all the doors. The only
mm,
people there are pretty much the shabu addicts and the thieves.
yes.
And so there's an area there where, as you walk by the building, there's a fence or a gate
Mm,
so that you're stuck on the sidewalk. You can't leave.
okay. Mm,
So I started in there and I noticed 3 Filipinos were walking behind me and they're following me. There's nobody else
ready.
around.
Mm.
Nobody. It's dark. So my senses are kind of up and I can kind of hear them getting closer to me. And I'm thinking, okay, this was a bad idea. And sure enough, very coordinated, all 3 of them at the same time. One jerked away my backpack,
Mm,
one reached in my wallet, took my
wallet.
phone, and the other one took my wallet. Now, if they had just run away, I would have lost everything, passport,
Mm,
everything. But because we were stuck in that, there's the building on one side and the fence on the other side, they were stuck in there with me.
mm,
So I was more angry than anything. Um, and so I had I have done martial arts. I got up just one belt shy of my black belt when I was younger, but I remember everything. I was just so angry that I just started thrashing him. And I was able to grab my phone from the one and I quickly
Mm,
stuck it in my pocket. The other one
okay.
still had my wallet. The one who had my backpack, I knocked him out unconscious within 5 seconds. I got
Mm.
my backpack, and then I looked at the one that had my wallet. I said, "Give me my wallet." And he was looking at the guy. He sees the one beat up. He sees the other one unconscious, and so he
Mm.
handed it back to me. You know. And then I said, "Okay, now do you want to fight? Now that you're not sneaking up on me, now do you want to fight?" And I stayed
Mm.
right there in front of him, and he decided he didn't want to fight. So I left. Now, I'm lucky, and my message out of all this is don't do what I did. Don't go walking through the bad part of town alone at 11 o'clock at night. Because,
Yes.
see, I was lucky. Number one, I had fighting training. And number two, if they had knives, I could have ended up dead,
Yes.
you know? Uh, in my training, they trained us to fight three people at a time. But most people have not had that training. They don't know what to do and they don't know how to fight.
Yes.
So the better thing is avoid that. And 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 most people would say, "Oh, I'm never going to go down a dark alley in the worst part of town at 11 o'clock at night in Cebu." But what a lot of guys will do without even thinking, they go out drinking at the bar all by themselves and they get drunk
Yes.
and they walk out of the bar maybe with a Filipina, maybe by themselves. 1 o'clock in the morning, they're half drunk, and then they wonder why they wake up in the alley the next morning with their wallet missing, or they wake up in the hotel and the girl took off with their backpack, passport, and everything. That
Right.
happens. So it's not always, that obvious. Don't go out and drink by yourself. Go with a buddy. Go with a buddy, and that way you can kind of look out for each other. You know.
Yes. Agree, sir. Okay. And single moms like myself are becoming YouTubers and giving advice from a Filipina's perspective. I myself, although my channel is small, I mentor two young YouTubers who are both monetized in less than 4 months. Would you consider monitoring? I mean, would you consider mentoring in future since you are successful and knowledgeable?
Mentoring, you mean like single moms, or what do you mean?
Yeah, mentoring like making video in YouTube, how to create a very nice video.
Oh, you mean as far as vlogging?
Yes, giving advice. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I did it for everyone. I created a series. Every once in a while, I'll do a series, and I can give the link to the playlist. And I
Okay.
called it YouTube with Reekay. And I think I did about 6 videos teaching like what kind of equipment to use, how to get
Mhm.
started inexpensively, how to get monetized on YouTube, how to create content, how to edit. I cover all that. I can give you a
Okay.
link to the series of
Okay.
videos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
And
And mm,
oh, I was going to say, and then um, whether it's relationships or YouTube, whatever, people can always contact me on Facebook, and if they have a question, I can answer them and give them whatever links or whatever they need. Yeah.
okay. And I talked my daughter on an interview twice with same foreigner. He grabbed and hugged my daughter. Do you think expat need culture training before coming to the Philippines? And how should I handle that situation? I sent him a scolding text and block him.
hmm
Mm.
Well, the first part of your question, I mean, that's a lot of what I've done with my channel is try to
Mm.
get foreigners to understand you're in a different country. You'd think that
Yeah.
would be obvious, but you're in a different country. You need to some degree, behave. I mean,
Mm,
behave with some common decency. I'm not saying everybody has to be a saint or anything like that, but be good to people. Don't,
mm,
if you'll just be honest, again, it avoids a lot of problems. If a guy just wants to be with a Filipina for that night, say so.
mm,
And there's plenty of Filipinas that they don't want to get married. They just want to have fun Friday night. That's it.
yes.
So, but be honest, and, and, and so, yeah, to some degree, I wish more guys would realize if you come to the Philippines with this mindset that they're just a kid in a candy store just to grab and grab and grab and grab, a lot of harm's going to be done, not just to Filipinas, but to themselves. You know, many can come down with STDs. I know too many guys that played around, and now they've got babies scattered, with single
Mm,
moms that they're not even supporting. Some support, some don't.
yes.
Um, so I wish guys would just kind of, you know, uh, try to be in control. Try to
Mm,
behave in a decent way, especially being in another country. You could end up in jail. You could end up with angry brothers chasing you down. You could end up with a lot of
yes.
problems you don't need. Um, Now, what was it? Kind of elaborate a little on what you said happened with your daughter.
He grabbed my daughter, like he grabbed it and then come close to him like this and then hold it tight on close to his body. So it's something like that. And then I was shocked.
Uh huh.
Mm.
Oh, so he robbed her from some money that she had.
No, it's just only because my daughter before was swimming at the condo, and then I made the interview, and then after when my daughter dressed up, and then the interview was done, and then living together, I don't understand him because he grabbed my daughter like this on the hips of my daughter, and then put it in his body very tightly, and then I was shocked, and then my daughter also looked at me shocking because
Yeah,
it was the first time that my daughter have encountered that incident.
yeah.
Mm,
Well,
mm,
in that sort of a situation, you're probably aware. Uh, I call it the Bastos law, but
mhm,
it's the law that was just it was accepted as a bill I think a year ago, but it was ratified I believe about 6 months ago, and it's basically a law in the Philippines that says a Filipina can report anybody,
mm,
Filipino or foreigner, if she is being the target of unwanted, rude attention. And
mm,
that can be whistling, catcalling, being inappropriate, bastos.
mm,
Um, Now that that law is in place, you know, if that were to happen again, I would say the way to best handle it, get the nearest security guard, get out your phone, start video of
yo,
this man so you have a picture of him. Do
mm,
video, not just a picture. Um, because he may try to run away. Get the
mm,
nearest security guard, get the PNP there as fast as possible. Report this man. Report him for this kind of lewd,
mm,
unwanted behavior. Because unless, and he may run away, he may not get caught. But
yes.
what cannot happen is that men, Filipino or foreigner, engage in this sort of behavior and are not held accountable. He needs to
Mm,
now worry that she's got video of him and she's going to give that to immigration. He could be held liable later.
mm,
And because there's really no excuse for a man to behave like that.
mm,
Now, I've seen videos put out by foreigners where they had the opposite reaction. They were like all
yes.
scared. And they were
Mm,
scared, like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to talk to a Filipina. She might call the police,
mm,
you know. But in all reality, if we're going to stick to reality, walking up to a Filipina in a department store, especially when there's cameras everywhere,
yes.
if you just in a polite way make conversation and say, hey, I don't want to get you in trouble at work, could I get your text number, would you give it to me
Mhm.
and I'll text you later tonight? No Filipina is really going to just call the police over something as simple as that.
Oh,
It's
yes.
That's not what the law was made for. And even
Mhm.
if that were to somehow happen, again, you got cameras everywhere, and it's like, no, I found her attractive. I asked her. She said no, so I wanted to leave. That's it. That's nothing
Mhm.
happened. You know, I didn't grab her. I
Yes.
didn't touch her. I didn't say inappropriate things. I just
Mhm.
simply asked for her text number. That's all I did. You know, so the only ones that need to worry about this law are the ones who don't have the good sense
Mhm.
to interact with a woman in a decent way. They're the only ones that need to worry.
Yes. Do you want to close by telling us anything about your family, siblings, or anything you want to share?
I would say just I'm fairly private about my
Mhm.
family life, but one thing I have shared is that again I came to the United States to spend time with my mom because and now her medical condition is much better. Other than she's
Okay.
88 years old, so there's no stopping time. um, but you know. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing when because I have a very good, healthy relationship with my mom.
Mhm.
It's a hard thing because I've enjoyed the time I've had with her here
Mhm.
in the United States, but at the same time, I have my fiance waiting patiently in the Philippines. And so, like I said, by February, I want to be back with her. Um, because and I've had very good conversations with my mother about this. She understands, and she told me very clearly. She goes, "I'm going to miss you, but you need to be with her." And I know I can't be both places at the same time. It's a very complicated process to even get a wife into the United States or a fiance. That takes time, takes passports, takes immigration clearances with the United States. It's a big process. And taking my mother to Philippines is not going to work. She's 88
Yeah.
years old. Her entire network. She's been living in this home for almost 40 years. Um, you know, other than being with me, she doesn't want to go to the Philippines. She doesn't even want to go to the next town. She's happy here. So
Okay.
since they can't be in the same place and I can't be both places at the same time, the only thing I can really say about family is that sometimes you just have to make tough decisions. And
Mm.
again, I revert back to the biblical premise, which says, and many people read this in weddings and they don't really
Mm.
think about it, but it says about husbands and wives, for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father and cling to his
Mm.
wife, and the two shall be one. That's the natural order of things. You leave,
Mm.
it's one thing to visit. I didn't come here to live with my mother. I came here to visit my mother.
Mm.
My proper place in life is next to my fiance to be my
Mm.
wife, and we're to be together. And getting back to the whole making sure my mom's okay, my mom's got more money than she can get rid of. I mean,
Mm.
she's fine financially, thank God. Good investments. She's fine for money. She's got good health care. She's got a family network. My aunt lives right across the street. She's very
Mm.
good friends with the neighbors. She's got my other aunt 5 minutes away. She's got a good, I've got a sister-in-law here that loves her very much. So there's a good network here for her. But yeah, the hard part is you can't be two places in the same time. And all my kids are already grown and married with kids of their own. I tell expats, if your kids are under 18, let the Philippines wait. Spend time with your kids now while you can, because once they turn 18, they got no time for you.
Yes.
you know Spend time with your kids till they're 18, then move to the Philippines. It'll still be there. There'll still be plenty of Filipinas. It'll all be there.
Yes. Philippines is always here, not moving around.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so sir, that's the end of the interview, and thank you, Sir Rikai, for taking time out of your busy schedule for my channel, and you have my utmost gratitude and appreciate. I will put Suri K's channel and the link of this in the video description, and please subscribe his channel and watch his video and view his Facebook, because you will learn quite a lot more, because today, sir, I learned more. Thank you.
Oh, glad to help. And I'll put a comment later when on your the
Mm,
channel here. I'll put links to my Facebook and the playlist for YouTube help. I'll put links to
okay.
all that.
Okay. Okay. Sir, thank you so much, sir. And Happy New Year and happy tweakings to all of us. And thank you so much. I say I cannot stop saying thank you to you for to be on my channel and run to this interview. Okay, so thank you, and that's all. God bless, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Bye
having me.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.